we have a visit. Yeah. Okay. See you later, Mackenzie. Bye bye. Okay.
Alligator.
All right. So, ah,
Isn't that a pretty tune?
that's a beautiful tune. Thank you. Doug has agreed
That was
to.
amazing.
Yeah, Doug has agreed to offer us our first selection of music each week. So, thank you, Doug. All right. Well, over the course of the last, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months maybe, we've been talking about the secrets of the bulletproof spirit, and we've explored these various points that Quinn and Camissa have brought forth. They make the point that for us to have a bulletproof spirit doesn't require that we add Kevlar to our diet. We already have a bulletproof spirit. It's a matter of remembering that and taking action to reveal that on a day-to-day, ongoing basis. So this process of peeling away those aspects of our presence is a matter of peeling away those aspects of ego that insist upon expression. This is really a journey in fearlessness. As we have discussed many times, the ego is that aspect of consciousness which insists upon separation from each other and from God. And that one of the primary tools that the ego uses is fear. Fear of doing something wrong, fear of offending someone, fear of exploring new aspects of self. So our journey of peeling away the ego is really a journey of fearlessness. And this will involve discovery, oftentimes requiring that we explore, that we try new things, that we test different approaches, that we walk new ground. And the ego tries to ensure its continuation as a dominant aspect of our consciousness by instilling fear and shutting down that spiritual discovery, that expression of new ways of being. So our practice then, our intention is to let go of those things that no longer serve us and open ourselves up for new aspects of being, new ways of doing, new relationships, new ways of approaching existing relationships. The one of the ways that stifles us, one of the aspects of character that stifles us, is consistency. Now, consistency it's really a double-sided virtue, right? If we want to improve our golf game, or if we want to attempt to become as adept on the keyboard as Doug is, if we want to become good at things that require a good brain-body coordination, practice is important. Consistency of practice is important. Those things that add to our experience, that build our skills, that expand our capabilities, oftentimes require a consistent practice. And that consistency is good. That is what I would regard as deliberate consistency. Now, the consistency that gets in our way is what I would call habitual consistency. Little things like the route we take to the grocery store. We justify that route because, well, we know it. Perhaps it saves us time, or perhaps it takes us through a low traffic route. Perhaps we are involved in other habitual consistencies that are passed down to us from the way we grew up, or are instilled upon us through our tribal influences. And don't get me wrong, tribal influences are wonderful. We are a tribe here, right? We gather here on Sunday morning through our computers and over the magic of the internet. But we are a tribe because we have a set of expectations about each other. We gather together. We build upon relationships that we form within this tribe. And there are aspects of that tribal domain that we travel in that can be detriment to our spiritual growth, to our development of the awareness of our bulletproof spirit. So when we are looking at the ways we do things and the things that we do, it's important for us to recognize the difference between that deliberate consistency, the practicing at the keyboard, or the practicing on the guitar, or the practicing on the driving range, those things that allow us a greater and greater capability, versus the habitual consistencies, the consistencies that we do because we've done them that way, the consistencies that are occupying our time, occupying our focus. Even if they're habitual, they nonetheless occupy us, that get in the way of our exploring new approaches, approaching new ideas, considering new ways of being, of doing. So I'd like to share with you a quote that we might consider as being a good consistency. We have in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58, "Therefore, my beloved," says Paul, "be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the Lord, because you know that in the Lord your labor is not in vain." Now this idea that we are practicing our spiritual, that we're practicing our spiritual presence, that we are allowing ourselves the consistency of practice of meditation, as an example. That is a spiritual practice. That's a spiritual consistency, or that's a consistency of spiritual practice that can provide us great benefit. So the consistency in our practice for expanding ourselves, to growing, to seeing new approaches, that is wonderful, and that is constructive. That adds to our experience here in life. But it's the habitual consistencies that are the burden, the obstacle, and it's the habitual consistencies that I'd like for you to consider. We have writers throughout the ages that have shared with us ideas about consistency. That, for instance, Oscar Wilde says that consistency is the last refuge of the unimaginative. And he's talking about the habitual consistency that I was referring to. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "Most of the things we do for no better reason than that our fathers have done them, or that our neighbors do them. And the same is true of a larger part than we suspect of what we think. And the same is true of a larger part than we suspect of what we think." And then, of course, Hobgoblins. "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines." So these habitual consistency, the practice of these habitual consistencies keep us in a rut. They keep us from finding new ways of expressing ourselves. In Secrets of the Bulletproof Spirit, Quinn and Camissa offer us this. Spiritually bulletproof people reject the idea that there's any one way to do things and are willing to depart from tradition, habit, or custom in order to create a more authentic life for themselves. So, think about this. What are the consistencies that you practice that are a limitation to your expression, the greater expression of who you are? What things do you do that do not contribute to your growth, to your spiritual resilience? Do you find yourself doing things because that's the way they've always been done? Because that's how you were raised? Because your friends expect you to do them that way? There's the apocryphal story of the lady who always took the ham and chopped off 6 inches of the ham and threw it away whenever she baked a ham. And one day her mom was over watching her prepare the ham for dinner, and the daughter chopped off that piece of ham and threw it away. And the mother said, "Why did you do that?" And the daughter said, "Well, that's because that's the way you've always done it. I don't know, I just thought that that's the way you fix it." She said, "Dear, the reason I did it was because our oven was too small and I could never fit the whole ham in the oven." Those kinds of traditions that we gather from our families, from our tribe, from our friends, are traditions that may in fact be an obstacle to our growing into new ways of being, growing into new approaches to life, experiencing new experiences. So it's important for us to consider those habitual consistencies that are obstructing us. One of the most powerful influencers of our consistencies is our tribe. What does our tribe expect us to do? What do our friends anticipate from us? What is the modus operandi? What is the approach to life that we find within our circle of friends? What do they expect us to do? And that kind of influence from the tribe can be, it can be very subtle. It can be something that is hard to identify. But one of the first steps you can do to do that is to just identify who are the people in your tribe, who are the people in your circle of friends, and what are the influences that they impose upon you through their expectations and through their either applause or their ridicule. What is it that causes you to respond to what the tribe is wanting? Certainly the tribe has helped us. We have, as we are growing up, our tribe has been very useful. Our family has been very useful. We are at the point where most of us, I think, every one of us, is at the point where Maslow talks about self-actualization. Self-actualization is not about knowing your body, but rather knowing your own consciousness and working on the expansion of your own consciousness. So the self-actualization, that stage that we are in now, is one that is, it's important for us to recognize. I used a quote in the newsletter, excuse me, I used the quote from Shakespeare that in the newsletter this morning, that we are all players on the world is a stage and we are players up on it. And the roles that we take on, the parts that we play, are oftentimes dictated to us, not because someone said you must do this, but rather because of the network of influences that we have. What is it about the things that we do that were actually our own choice versus what others expected us to be? I know back when I was in my early day, I was going through college. My oldest brother was a systems engineer and then a marketing rep within IBM, and I saw that was what I needed to do. I needed to become a marketing rep for IBM. Well, okay, not to say that goal is a bad goal, but the question is, why was that my goal? That was my goal not because I was intrigued by technology. I was. But why IBM? Why specifically marketing rep? Why not in the manufacturing or engineering side of the business? Marketing rep. That was what I intended to do because that was what my brother did. And as I looked at alternatives, I said, oh, why not that? He's doing that. He's having fun. He's making a good living. So why not do that? Well, so this question of what is our tribe, what is our family, what are the influences that coming from that's dictating how we do what we do, or even what we do. So this idea of breaking out of our habitual consistencies to allow us to have new horizons, to have new areas of exploration, it's an important process. And I'd like to open it up for you all. What are some of the habitual consistencies that are now coming to mind that just might be obstacles to your growth? I open the floor.
I would say one of mine that's kind of crazy is where I work. It's something that I do not enjoy, but kind of like IBM, it's a living. Mm-hmm. Definitely hampering my growth because I'm working for a company that I really have a difference of opinion with.
Mm-hmm. That is that is a common trap. You're not alone in that experience. And retirement is such a sought-after goal. I mean, think about it. Retirement indicates that you're moving into that phase of life where your body is starting to tell you exactly what you need to do or not do. And people say, "Oh man, I'm looking forward to retirement." Are you really? Is that really what you're doing, or are you wanting to get out of that stuff that you're having to do now to put food on the table? Thank you, Patrick. That's a great example.
I'm looking at a stack of mail, and typically people bring in the mail every single day and get through it and organize it. And having the stack here is like, I can approach that mess when I want to, when I'm in the correct state of mind. So that's something that a lot of people face, is just going through that stuff that keeps coming to your mailbox.
I can relate to that.
I would call mine almost a vice, and that's screen time and TV.
Yep. That's a big one.
Any others?
When I hit the road, I go out there and I'm holding a defensive posture, and I'm tense. And we learn from martial arts is when you're relaxed, you're much better able to respond to any dangers anyway. So why not stay relaxed, comfortable? So I want to let go of that tension, put that behind me.
Your ego is going to resist that. Be prepared for that battle.
To tag on what Sue said, Facebook, total waste of time. But it eats up how many hours a day, David?
Let's not go there. I don't want to reveal one of my major failures in life, okay?
Sue, thanks for bringing that up. My goodness. Yeah.
I don't think you have to totally get rid of a thing. I think if you want to look at it and reap benefits from it, like I have some awesome pages on my Facebook feed that feed me every day. I stay away from the political stuff. I stay away from a lot of things, and it's like the news. Some people swear off TV, period. But there's a lot of worthwhile things there too. So I think maybe you have to fast from something in the first place and then come back to a center point where you can use it for good. I don't know, but I'm identifying with everybody's comments. So thank you.
Yeah, it's deliberate versus habitual. That's really the key here. Is which of these elements of our lives are we intending to do, and which of the elements of our lives that are just there because we've always done them? It's kind of 1 minute flows to the next, to the next, to the next, and we don't stop and say, wait a minute, why am I doing that? What is it that does to help me grow? What is it that helps? What is it about that helps me be more resilient? What is it about that causes me the opportunity, that gives me the opportunity to open myself up to new experiences, to new realizations, to new things? Yeah.
So I've got one. I took one of these free introductory online workshops the other day. It was by a memory expert, and he was suggesting to people to not look at your email for the first hour or two, at least, of the day. And I had gotten into a habit of reading email, with my morning cup of coffee, and I had started doing that probably more intensively because of all the COVID-19 stuff, because I wanted to get some accurate information. And I've long since passed the point of reading accurate information. And I'm getting all this political stuff and fundraising for, elections and all this nonsense. So my email device sorts things from people I know from all the other stuff. And I'll take a quick glance at the stuff from people I know, see if there's anything I need to do. And then I set it aside to do something else in the morning and tackle the email later in the day. His two comments were that most emails generate negativity or reactivity. And by definition, they're usually written that way to do that, to get you to do or buy or do something. And I've noticed it's made a pretty nice shift in my way to hold more positive energy in the morning and bring it through my day just by not starting with all that stuff.
Thank you. And there's a myriad of things that we encounter during the day where we can ask that question: how is this contributing or not contributing to my well-being, to my growth, to my positive outlook, to the expression of the essence of who I am? So this is a process that we can go through. This is a process that we can begin with just a little thing, change the route that we take to the grocery store, open ourselves up to this idea that I don't have to do it that way. I do it that way because it has served me in the past, but is it serving me now? And that question of is it serving me now is key. Allow yourself to question those things that we do, those habits that we're in, those things that we practice on a day-to-day basis. Ask the question, is this serving me? Is this allowing me to expand? So this,
what go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what Ginger said about more or less, you fast, you stop all of it. Well, I did that. It wasn't really by choice, but everything stopped, all my habitual activities.
Right. Thank you, Kobe.
As I was lying around in bed and waiting to feel better and feel energy. And I think that has given me an opportunity. You get in the habit of just hitting the ground running and doing your stuff all the time. And it's given me time to think about, okay, as my energy comes back, which it is doing, what's the important thing to do right now? Because I may be tired in half an hour. So what's the thing that I really am best off doing? It's best for me, best for my whole life. It enforces that time of discernment. What do I want to do with my time? Now, I'm hoping I'll be back to full energy at some point fairly soon, but it's forced me to stop and think. What are you going to do with this next hour? And what needs to be done? And before you feel like taking a nap again.
Yeah, those cosmic 2x4s can give us the opportunity to think about what it is that we're doing. We have several people here in this session this morning, John and Bert and Kay and Leslie and a number of people here right now have encountered the cosmic 2x4s over the course of the last several weeks, and it has given us individually, it's given us the opportunity to question. Okay, I can't do that. Is there something that's going to be more fulfilling? Something that's going to be contributed by? What is it that is happening right now that I can use to expand, to grow, to build my resilience? And that's the point that Quinn and Camissa make repeatedly within this book, is that when you take a hit, the opportunity to respond to that hit in a way that allows you greater growth and greater expansion is there. It's always there. They make that point, and I'll go ahead and repeat it, but I haven't seen that proved, but that's kind of like testing a flashbulb, right? If you remember what a flashbulb is. But the point is that we have the opportunity when these things occur for us to stop, reconsider, look at it in a different way, change your perspective. And then we have people within the congregation. I'm scanning here, and I don't see several of them. But we have people in the congregation that are actually taking up and moving. They're actually getting out of Dodge, not because there's something negative in Dodge, but rather there's something positive over there. Mark and Sharon are considering moving away. They've been down in Albuquerque over the course of the last several weeks looking at properties down there. Carol and Chris have actually, they're in the process this week of closing on their house in Pueblo West. They have closed, actually. They've closed on the house in Pueblo West. They're closing on their house in Arvada, and they're moving to Pueblo West. A cute house down there that is, that as Carol expressed it, this is it's a new beginning. It's a new experience that's going to be very different from what they're used to. And they're going to be moving Chris's mom down there as soon as they get settled in. So a new way of being. I mean, look at Dan. Dan is moving up here from Albuquerque and getting settled into a new facility up here, and he's experiencing this new opportunity. We have the opportunity in a day-to-day basis to question what we do. And is our consistency, is it a consistency that allows us to grow, to expand, or is it a consistency that is imposed upon us because of our lack of desire to change things? So that's our charge. Do we have the gumption? Do we have the desire to question what it is that we're doing, to allow ourselves to expand, to grow, to build more resiliency? Or are we satisfied with being where we are? There's nothing wrong with being satisfied with what's going on. The problem, as I see it, is not being willing to question whether or not you're truly satisfied, or it's just, easy because you're familiar with it. It's easy because the groove is already well worn and it's easy to stay in the groove. Choices. We have the opportunity to make choices that allow us to expand. And with that, we'll have our meditation. And as we allow ourselves to settle into this space, this presence, this place here in our consciousness, this quiet space, the space where it is sacred ground. Moses was told to take off the sandals from your feet because where you stand is sacred ground. But that is a universal truism. Where we stand right now, where we sit right now, sacred ground when we choose it to be. So we choose it to be. Right here, right now, fully present. We allow ourselves to set aside those burdens that we have brought into this moment. Anything that's important we can pick up in a few minutes, but right now, we set it aside. Here in this quiet time, we have the opportunity to reflect upon those major doings, those major assumptions that we have in our lives. If nothing else, but just to tick through our day, recall the things that we have done. Look at the relationships that we have and question why we have them. What are we striving for in that relationship? What do we want to get from that relationship? And it's not about a selfish acquisition, but rather it's about allowing the relationship to help us grow, help us learn new things about the divine aspect of self. And the things upon which we spend our time: Facebook, reading, a daily walk, television. Are these things that we do actually contributing to our expression, our discovery and expression of that indwelling Christ? Are the things that we do contributing? So in this quiet time, we are discovering those aspects of our behavior, of our investments in time. We don't need to solve the spectrum of issues. All we need to do is identify one. resolve it. And then identify another and resolve it. One by one, we peel away those aspects of our behavior and activities that no longer contribute to our growth. One by one, we remove the obstacles to those new horizons, those new approaches, those new realizations. One by one, we breathe in, we breathe out. As we come back into this time and space, we come back with a renewed motivation to expand, to grow, to build resilience. And for this we give thanks. And so it is.
Amen.
Well, I'd like to share with you our offering blessing this morning. As we take our blessings in our hands, either metaphorically or literally, we offer this together, please. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And I'd like to share with you a video. This is Sue Riley and Daniel Lamont. And they are singing I Made Room for Grace.
Used to think I had to have my own way.
One moment, please. I know. Oh. There it is. I knew there was okay. Let's come back to this now. This will not be so conflicted.
Used to think I had to have my own way, could do everything on my own, living my life like a one-woman play, feeling confused and alone. Still I held on tight to the life that I knew, till it wasn't the life I remembered. Finally admitting I hadn't a clue, I opened my arms and surrendered. and I made room for grace. I just stepped aside. Oh.